guest today. It is Ann Madden. She's a stylist for film and TV. Hey, Ann, how you doing?
Hi, Sean. How are you
Hello.
over?
Well, I'm kind of envious because I'm in my apartment in Atlanta and it's probably 90 degrees, and you are in Palm Springs in the sun sitting outside.
Yeah,
Is it
Palm
Palm
Desert
Springs? Palm Desert.
Valley, same valley. Just this is kind of, um, this town was sort of hip in the Frankie, Dean, Sammy days. So it's a little more retro
Okay.
and some older entertainment people. And then Palm Springs is, as you know, like the kind of more hipster end of town.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so we're gonna get to your story and hear about how you got started and how at one point you worked with J.J. Abrams and show some of your clips and just have a fun conversation. But first, I just have to get to a couple of ads. So I am gonna go full screen and I'll come back in like a minute, okay?
Sure thing.
All right, I'll be right back. Hey, everybody, I'm just gonna talk about my partners here real quick. This is Restream. Restream is a service that takes your live and sends it to several places like YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. It's an amazing service. It also has a live studio that you can roll in clips and pictures and music. Check out Restream. I have a referral link in the live that you're watching right now. And also, I'm going to come back here, and also you can see in the top left, I've got a logo for GVN. That's Geek Vibes Nation. They are a network that I belong to. They've got sports, tech, games, all this crazy stuff, and I'm part of their network. And they show my YouTube episodes and my lives and my audio podcasts, and it goes out to a lot of people. And then the last thing is eCam is the software I'm using right now. They're a partner. And they have a referral link if you want to check it out. That's how I make this little Jimmy Kimmel internet live TV show. So, and you're wearing. I told you offline that you are the first guest to wear sunglasses in an interview. I think it's awesome. I
Well,
love the sunglasses.
no. It's when in Rome, it's the desert folk, you know.
Do you feel dehydrated in the desert? Like you're I feel like
But
when I go for long walks, like I feel like my legs are matchsticks because I'm just so dehydrated.
that's true, sure. But round about this time of year, you only go walking or hiking at sort of, after dark, like 10 or 11 o'clock at night. So I'm super excited because tonight's the full moon,
Mm.
and um, at night all the snakes go to sleep, and and you just drink lots of water.
Yes. Yes. Very cool. Okay, so I'm going to ask you the first question that I always ask everyone, which is, how did you know you wanted to be in the film and TV industry? You said a little bit about it in your bio, going to Sarah Lawrence College. How did you know that you wanted to do this, be a stylist for a living? And can you also tell everybody what a stylist is and what a stylist does?
Sure. Um, so at Sarah Lawrence, the reason I went to Sarah Lawrence was I was really into Joseph Campbell,
Okay.
and I think I first read about him in, like most people, in like a Star Wars interview article in like a movie magazine. So I went on up to Sarah Lawrence, and there was a theorist there, Gilberto Perez, and he was very much in kind of Pauline Kael, New York Times School of um, film criticism and theory at that time. And he was my assigned advisor. And he was a Cuban refugee, and he actually was friends and colleagues with Nestor Almendros, who, Days of Heaven and
Right.
um, all those Barry Malik movies. Yeah. So he just had this really sort of amazingly rich, yet classic perspective on film, and I got hooked. I wanted to be a film critic, or a theorist,
Mm-hmm.
until I figured out, that you have to have a PhD to do that, and be a professor. So I was going to be a film critic, um, and from there I worked on a student film at the National Film and Television School in London.
Okay.
And when I was there for a year abroad, and I got hooked by the set life, you know, the whole team slash pirate ship, everyone banding together.
Right.
So much effort, so much work, so much energy towards, you know, action, and then we all just stand around. So that whole sort of play of extremes really appealed to me, and you know, so I just followed that on.
Right. And so after school, because I didn't know this about you, I knew that you had done these very high-end commercials, and I had seen some clips that you had done, and they were beautiful, and that's why I contacted you, because somehow I found you online. And but in your bio, you talk about early in your career working with J.J. Abrams and Baz Luhrmann. And I just have to ask, did you meet JJ? Did you talk to him, or was he just, were you on the set working for him? What was that like? Because he's obviously, I don't want to say he's a hero of mine, but I just love his work.
Oh yeah, he's you know, he's a master of our generation and time, which is so so nice and comforting. So JJ actually went to Sarah Lawrence.
I didn't know that.
So I might have sort of seen him around at the time. Of course, we're all just kind of all wearing sweatpants and big glasses, so who knows who anyone is.
Right.
And those, but afterwards, no, it was completely always online, and mostly photos. Just kind of after the initial brief. Maybe we'll go chronologically.
Sure.
So, photo researcher, one of my first jobs. At the same time, I was also a substitute teacher, an LAUSD, dog walker.
Okay.
And I searched some other jobs to do. So photo researcher isn't a union job and doesn't pay so much. Caveat. So still doesn't. So after the initial brief, I just sort of went wide. It was for a movie called Super 8, and so that took place in a Rust Belt town in the late 70s. So, like you and JJ, I love the you know, all the movies of that era. So it was a kind of a wonderful blend of going deep into the internet and also into the actual hard photo publicity stills archives at the studios in LA, and getting just all these images of the era, both very authentic, as in ordering yearbooks on eBay from the actual region,
Right.
and just, you know, and any sort of, you know, whatever, Evans City High Gazette, just anything, any paper material that's not on the internet of real life stuff, and then movies, you know, amazing movies of that time, sort of. The exact era was late 70s, but I kind of went like Bad News Bears to E.T.
Okay.
You know, so went wide.
Right.
Because it's a Rust Belt town, so they're not wearing LA clothes.
Right.
Or even, you know, Scranton, Pennsylvania clothes. They're wearing like, so it was kind of like, okay, JJ, okay, late 70s, all the movies he loves for years, and at Sarah Lawrence there's a great tradition of watching back-to-back Twilight Zone, Star Trek, and Get Smart. In that order. Ran for years and years on some, you know, kind of station in New York. And
right.
So sort of looking at the images through what I assumed was his mythology, and then, but also through these yearbooks and actual historical procedures, like, you know, it takes a fashion trend to 2 to 3 years at that time without internet to get to a Rust Belt town from New York or LA. And it goes through a lot of different lenses and interpretations. And so what does it look like when it lands there? Plus, how can we make it iconic and mythic like those, great films did?
Right. I love that movie, Super 8 by
Yeah.
JJ. And my question to you, Anne, is after you did the research and you presented all these materials and movies and yearbooks, did you see your influence in any way in the movie? Did you see a scene where you're like, oh my God, I know they used my yearbook, or oh my God, I know they.
Yeah, that shirt or her hair, maybe,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, tiny moments. But, what we kind of love about filmmaking too is that it's such a stone soup, so it's
Hmm.
like, I don't know, I brought a carrot, but someone else brought carrots too. Who knows who's,
Yeah,
so
who
it's
knows what carrots they ate, yeah, or used, yeah.
actually who's, and so that's why the cast and crew screening is always like my favorite part, because it, the energy has now gone through all of us, many, many months, in case of director, producer, years. And then there it is. And then there we are, and usually with a loved one. And it's just like, it's the best. It's like, it's, it's just a very kind of tribal, nice feeling.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's hundreds of people, sometimes thousands of people come together to make one vision come alive. Um,
Yeah.
but can you tell us or tell the audience what does a stylist do? Because I just interviewed an art director who worked on some films, and he was talking about the world. So he was talking about, he used to be an architect. His name's Justin O'Neill Miller, and he just worked on Christopher Nolan's Tenet and The Rock's new movie, Black Adam, and he worked on The Walking Dead and a bunch of other stuff. But he was saying that this new Rock movie, Black Adam, has a world unlike anything he's ever seen before. And he was talking about, he worked on Doctor Sleep, which is the second Shining movie, and he said he had to go back through all those architectural drawings and recreate sets and all kinds of craziness. So you're more doing costumes, or are you still also part of the world when you're a stylist? Are you doing the world, costumes, or both?
Well, um, these days, and actually pretty much my whole career, I've always done everything, you
Okay.
know. Um, so, at first you'll just sort of just grab onto anything to get the experience. And I very much wanted to go the union route, and so that's where that's where I went. And after a while of grabbing everything and working like 80-hour weeks, and half the time for free because you're starting, and all of that, it kind of got to a point where I can sort of choose the work that I take. And so films are fantastic, but they're very long. They're several months. So in between the short format of commercials and photo shoots, celebrity, and styling, that styling basically is a kind of nice part of the salad. So I've always done everything. Costume design, assistant costume design, and styling. But if to separate them, I would say styling is sort of more of the moment and uh, expressive of the actual person. So
Okay.
you're doing a shoot with an actor, you're getting clothes that expresses who they are in the public eye, and hopefully something revelatory and something new and something everyone loves. Whereas costume is, starts with the script, starts with the character. I've never been a real fantasy or sci-fi
Okay.
person. I've been, and maybe that's because of the visual research, I've been an inside out psychological person. So, I think that what we choose to wear is maybe the only universal, consistent daily creative practice everybody has. And even if you're saying, I'm not into fashion, that's still, you're saying something. So I love that kind of design where it's like I'm not designing a garment. In fact, sometimes I'm finding an image of a garment and recreating it with some tweaks. But, I'm pulling it out of the cultural soup. And then what I perceive is the psychology of the character. So I'm much more a scavenger hunter than I am like give me this fabric and, something here exists that's never existed before of the moment. And many of my friends do that, and I marvel and love at it. But yeah, I'm just a scavenger hunter.
Okay. And you grew up in a bunch of different places. You grew up in Belgium, Brussels, Luxembourg. Do you feel like that influenced your style as far as being a stylist, influenced the way that you see things, or influenced because you were, you had this influence from Europe rather than from America?
Well, that's funny because I've had this conversation with a lot of DPs over the years, and we talk about how where they grew up. If you look sort of where DPs grew up, it's always like places with an amazing certain quality of life. Not to say it's always beautiful,
Right.
but so many from Eastern Europe.
Yes.
So many from the UK. And you can look at a UK DP and you can look at a California DP and it's different,
Yeah.
different. And a New York DP, and wherever where you are, Georgia. I mean, growing up there would be incredible with the sea and everything. So yeah, I think it does. It's all in the soup. But just like the carrot thing, who knows from where?
Right.
Was it Europe or was it, Last Tango in Paris? I don't know.
Right. Right.
At far too young an age.
Right. Okay, so we're going to show, I'm going to turn off these logos here. We're going to show some of your pieces now and talk about them, just so people get an idea of your style and what you've done. And I think you're okay with me showing all four of these, so we talked about them. But the first one is Forest Hills, and it's just, I don't know if you want to say anything before, but I just like the spot. The cinematography was beautiful. And then there's some Japanese logos in there. Did this play in Japan or something?
Well, it was for Forest Hills is this huge, huge, like, size of a city construction projects, residential business construction projects, in Hong Kong.
Okay.
So the reason why I took that one, because this is my hardest job I think I've ever done, because I was the costume designer and the art director at the same time. I had the most amazing prop master, Peter Bourne, in New York. He's gone on to be quite a celebrated off-Broadway, just alternative, crazy, insanely creative theater person with his wife, and they put on productions now. But I was lucky enough to have Peter as a prop master, which really, there's no credits in commercials, especially ones abroad. So he really should have been assistant art director. He was amazing so that means, back to the designer thing, I'm not designing a garment, but I'm sort of co-designing the whole tableau. And normally I'm to the production designer or art director, but that's me on this one. So it was just kind of like costumes and art direction. And the only reason I agreed to do it is because the director DP was James Lung, and he was John Woo's art director. So not only completely like fangirling about breathing the air, pre-COVID breathing the air
exactly.
anyone who has been, inhaled John Woo's cigarette smoke. But he was also an art director. I mean, he was like this amazing art director, not just a very talented guy, but a very resourceful guy. There's not much in art direction to John Woo's movie, but what's there is so lean. It's all meat. It's no potatoes. So I'm like, I'm going to learn so much from this guy. Also, he's so much fun. His whole crew's amazing. And it's that total Hong Kong style filmmaking in New York City. I don't know. That was like 2000. I don't know. It's probably like 5 years ago, somewhere around there.
Okay.
So, but this, instead of like the huge Hollywood thing and the script in the locked room and sending emails to secure, these guys are sitting in their hotel room, having bought some toy cars and buses, or maybe they always carry them with them, and talking about the shot in Cantonese, right? And smoking like crazy in the non-smoking room. And I'm just like, amazing. I love this. It's like so, and it was remarkable because that lean and mean, the clarity is instant. It's like, yeah, okay, because we had motorcycles crashing into buses and disappearing. A motorcycle race down, 3rd Avenue, and it's meant to look like, I forgot, some other avenue in New York, and tops of buildings, and all for like a Hong Kong budget, and they want it like Hong Kong lean. Like I think there was 6, 7, maybe more cameras on the motorcycle scene, but these guys, like 500 like PAs, like with highly activated inner George Lucases, like climbing street poles and hooking up some type of camera. Right. And then the dolly shots, there was a main dolly, but they had 2 people in the back of the rental trunk open, economy rental car, shooting as well from the sides. And it was this kind of very freeing experience, really hard, but very freeing experience after, the bigger shows.
Right. It's almost like guerrilla filmmaking. They're just setting up cameras everywhere, trying to catch every angle, and people are riding. I actually saw, I don't know why you made me remember this, but I actually saw some DP's reel, and he was on, I forget what they're like rollerblades. I guess they're called rollerblades. And he would grab onto the back of a motorcycle and have a camera, like a film camera, like an Airflex or something. And he would just they would let go, and he would go flying by them and shoot them while they're doing 50 miles an hour or something. And I'm like, this guy's insane. I mean, especially, I guess you have insurance for the camera, but it just reminded me of that. So let's watch Forest Hills. We have more to watch. I want to watch everything before our 6-hour conversation is up. Just kidding. Okay, here we go. It's going to play full screen with music. Forest Hills, it's a spot that Anne worked on. Okay, so we were talking off screen a little bit. I don't think they hear us talking off screen because it goes to a separate track. But yeah, it's very cool. I'm a video editor. So when I see that and I see a lot of your spots, I'm like, that's the way I like to edit. It's like a million cuts and MTV-ish, you would call it, or something. And so many times, even with Turner Sports, but other clients, I'd sit there and be like, what do you think of this? And they'd be like, oh my God, it's so fast. It's so crazy. I love that sort of fast editing. I love the Bourne movies with the frenetic camera and cutting, and so that's
The
very cool.
green grass knows how to do that.
Yeah, yeah, it's very cool. So our next one is another sort of cool. You've got these cool slick spots, but then you've also got, the feel good spot about the hospital, and then the twist thing, which is totally crazy with Owen Wilson, and we'll talk about that in a second. But I love those kind of wacky commercials. But this one is kind of long. This is 3 minutes, so I only do a couple minutes. So I'll find a good out and we'll come back. But this is very slick, and I'm sure you have a long story to talk about it.
Find a good out, Sean.
Huh?
Find a good out.
I'm gonna find a good out. All right, here we go.
So you like to give me wake-up calls now?
Guess you didn't look outside today.
It was the eye of the storm.
Well, we got a Category 4 headed your way. It's expanding rapidly. Looks like a direct hit of the base. We need you for a mission.
It's gonna be tough to get out of the city.
Well, it would be for any other guy. But not you. We need to get him out. Give me exit plan B.
I'm flying blind here. All exit signs are down.
City's in shutdown. I'll get sat-nav automation to guide.
I have you on set radar. Await my mark. Turn hard right now. Now exit hard right.
Head east. Flight leader will help chaperone your exit.
Pilot, we are in go scratch. You will back each other up as you always do.
Got him. What's going on?
What's going on?
Roger, we're just having a little fun here. By the way, this car feels like, what's that word? Fierce.
Stay on point. See the radio tower at 10 o'clock?
Okay, I found an out. It's a beautiful spot, but it keeps going. So Anne, where do they show something like that? Is that at a car show? I mean, do they show it on television for 3 minutes?
You got it. You got it, Sean. That was for a big car show. I forget the name of it, but I recall, I think it's in Switzerland, but it's Europe, and it was actually similar to Forest Hills, and that is shown on like a huge sort of
70 millimeter screen or something?
Yeah, and it's sort of interactive.
Oh.
And so, the people walking around, remember seeing the mock-ups for the one in Forest Hills, and sort of people are walking around with this Blade Runner style massive screen. Sort of
Okay.
all around the space.
Yeah, immersive, like 360, 180 degree or something. So can you tell me, that was very much like Mission Impossible or one of those movies. Like, did you have a meeting and did they say, okay, we want to make this look like Mission Impossible and we're going to use these high-speed cameras, and it's almost like Top Gun 2 with the jet planes. And how did you style that spot? How did you come up with the look for that spot?
Well, the director on Lamborghini is a guy called Anthony Hoffman, and he's another director, DP.
Mm-hmm.
So, and he's very much the type that, probably when, the type you're describing, that sort of latched onto the motorbike,
Yeah.
on roller There's a real kind of dynamic, physical DP. Like
Okay.
what DPs when he's looking through the camera, that's all that exists. But at the same time, Anthony is, on top of, a huge crane, and she comes from a lot of car commercials
Okay.
for years. So did Mission Impossible drive the car commercials he does, or did his car commercials drive the creators of Mission Impossible?
Right.
Perfect marriage of that, advertising influencing cinema
Yes.
kind of. He's South African. He's all his stuff is very much that Mission Impossible style. Mission Impossible more than Bourne. So
Right.
yeah, he nailed
Well,
that. So he everyone he loves are the classic, like Rennie Harlan and Ridley, and he comes out of that tradition, though he's younger. So he's the next generation of that tradition.
right.
So I think that
Has he directed any features or any TV shows or anything? Because Tony Scott and Ridley Scott were commercial directors first, and then they became film directors.
I think he has. I should be better at keeping up with what everyone's doing, but I think he has. He shoots a lot. Like, even he was sort of the first person in COVID, seeing pictures of him on Instagram where he's all masked up, and he was one of the first ones out there because, of course, commercials are starting first because they're more controlled and smaller.
Right.
Can make individual agreements with,
Less people on screen for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, on screen, off. Yeah.
Now, I have a kind of a strange question, but how do you, and it's something that I've learned to do over the years, because I've worked with tons of different clients, but how do you get along with all these people? How do you work with all these people? So you're working with these high-end Lamborghini Forest Hills people, and then you're working with these Italian soda people, and then you're working with hospitals. And I'm sure it's all different kinds of directors and art directors and production designers. They're not all the same people, right? So the question is, how do you get hired, and how do you get along with all these different kinds of people?
Well, there's a lot of cross-pollination. So Langone, that's Anthony Hoffman.
It is, okay.
That's Anthony Hoffman. And then the Campari, that with Owen, that is a different director, Sebastian Gray, out of Paris. But the agency, the Italian ad agency, is the same as Lamborghini. And then, of course, actors and celebrities who do ads these days have two agents. They have their theatrical, and they have their I don't know what you call it,
commercial.
sponsor.
Okay.
Yeah, just whenever, whatever. Like Peyton Manning has his sports agent, his theatrical, and
Right.
who gets him commercials. So you also form a relationship with those people, and they rep, a bunch of different celebrities usually. And so if the director doesn't have a firm pick for the stylist or the costume designer, often they'll suggest.
Okay.
But otherwise, it's just all through.
Almost like word of mouth.
Yeah, it's word of mouth.
Yeah, that's what Justin and the art director and several other people said, that they haven't applied for anything in 20 years. It's all been like, okay, well, Justin, are you available for this movie? And are you available for this movie? It's all word of mouth and reputation.
Yeah, pretty much. It takes a while, but yeah, that's what it ends up being.
Okay, I was going to do this last, but I have to know, because I love Owen Wilson, I love the Wes Anderson movies. Did you talk to him at all, or did you see him on set, how he was behaving? Was he just awesome, or am I going to be displeased at his behavior?
No. He is awesome. in every way you'd expect and more. You know, a lot of people, like, to speak to what you're saying, you kind of have this idea of them from what you've seen on media, and then you meet them, and you know, sometimes it doesn't match. But in
Right.
the case of, it really does match, like the kind of intelligence and the sense of humor and the kind of gentle subversion and just the, you know, the goodwill is really just there all the time, all
Right.
the time. I mean, thank you to everyone, please to everyone, but beyond that, just a real sort of interest and perception of what everyone's doing at all times.
Right.
Like, I think he's a bit of a scavenger hunter too, so he's just kind of watching the human, you know, whatever play unfold, and being, you know, making it sort of as easiest for himself and everyone, and as pleasurable too. He's good fun, and yeah, we hung around a lot on that when we shot that one in Mexico City, and so there was that nice kind of, you know, all sort of packed together in one hotel and exploring this really fun, dynamic, great city, which we both really loved from previous visits. So that was great. There was like this whole security detail thing
Right.
that was a little disconcerting, but that was great too, because our what was his name, Captain, I don't know, the head of the security detail had been the security guy for Vicente Fox and other sort of very
Okay.
colorful Mexican presidents. So that was super interesting, and yeah, he would live up to sort of everything.
Oh, good. I'm glad to
And-
hear that. And
And
so,
he's a very aware guy.
right. And so you recommend Mexico City? Because my girlfriend is trying to get me to go there. She loves Frida Kahlo, and I've never
Oh.
been. And she's like, please go. And I'm like, I don't know. I don't know if I want to disappear, or there just seems like there might be some stuff going on down there. And she's like, no.
No, first of all, and I mean this sincerely on camera here.
Yeah.
If you go, and my dear friend Jaime Reynoso is there. He's a Mexico City native. He's also DP. He was a DP on Bloodline and other things.
Okay.
He, you and he will meet. I'll put it together.
So you
only-
recommend it, highly recommend it, because the culture looks amazing and the food's amazing.
It's amazing, and the neighborhoods are amazing. I recommend staying in a neighborhood called Roma, which at one point Mexico had a president who loved France and Paris. Sorry, loved Paris, and so who knows what terrible ways he did it, potentially.
Right.
But the end result is you have a section of Mexico where all the buildings are Mexico City, where all the buildings are relatively low, and there's these wide avenues with like a nice patch of greenery, a patch of greenery. So and Paris Art Nouveau style metro stations.
Wow.
So, but it's most definitely Mexico, and it's sort of a I'm not sure about Atlanta, but it's a, you know, it's a
Mishmash of neighborhoods.
yeah, and a gentrification. I don't know the parallel neighborhood in Atlanta, but here it would
yeah.
you know, be like an Echo Park or a
Okay.
or Deep Venice or something.
Okay, and this hilarious Campari commercial, which I love, and I love Owen Wilson and the wetsuit, and it's completely ridiculous. It's so much fun. The totally opposite of the other two spots that we've just seen. He's doing a Zoolander thing, right? He's kind of doing the, you know, the little faces from Zoolander and the, you know, these things.
Yeah.
So was there a discussion like, okay, we're gonna make this wacky like Zoolander, and you're gonna be your model character, or were you going for something else?
I think they loved Zoolander.
Okay.
And they, you know, harvested from the Owen that was in that.
Yeah.
but they also wanted to sort of create, and they went on to shoot a bunch of them to create sort of this almost like secret agent of fun guy.
Okay.
You know, so
All right.
like the part starts when the Crodino opens, or the trouble stops when the Crodino opens.
Right,
and this
right.
guy-
Very cool. Okay, here we go. We're gonna watch it. It's called Twist from Campari with Owen Wilson, a spot that Anne worked on. Here we go.
Ciao, sono il biondo che non impegna. Ma qui ci vuole un twist. Cosa c'è di meglio di un crodino twist? 2 crodino twist. Il biondo non sbaglia un colpo. Un nuovo crodino twist, l'aperitivo per tutti, ha il gusto dei frutti.
I love it. I was just watching the captions on Facebook, and they couldn't caption the Italian, like, because I guess you have to be, the whole thing has to be in Italian or whatever. So it was just a word here or there. It was very funny.
So it's probably, yeah, it probably works as a silent movie.
Yeah. But that was fun to work on.
Oh, it was so fun. I mean, filmmaking is absurdist. Mexico City can be super absurdist. Mexicans love absurdism, and so does Owen. Owen adores absurdism. So it was great, and you should go. I mean, if your girlfriend loves art, I mean, it's next to Paris. I'd say in the Western Hemisphere,
Right.
it's the most sort of vibrant museum scene as well as art scene, and that carries over to the design of the restaurants. Carlos Sims was this huge collector. He's got amazing architecture all over the place,
Right.
full of, if you like contemporary.
I do. I like Basquiat. Basquiat's my favorite artist. I'm obsessed with Warhol and Dali, and I like all kinds of modern art. There's this new artist called Hebrew Brantley that I love. He's out of Chicago. Yeah, and he does some stuff that has Warhol and Basquiat in it, but he also does a lot of African American figures and Marvel figures, actually. And Jay-Z has bought his work, and Dwayne Wade, LeBron James, and he has all this merch, and he does these. I always say this wrong. It's the Tuskegee Airmen. But he has this little fly boy with the goggles, and he's in all these photos. He used to be like Basquiat. He would do art on walls, spray paint on walls, murals in Chicago when he was younger, and do this flyboy figure. And now some of his art is in Chance the Rapper videos. I just love him. He's the closest thing to Basquiat and Warhol and that kind of feeling that I've seen in my lifetime. And I absolutely love his work. They had an exhibition at the Chastain Art Center in Atlanta. I brought my kids, and they loved it. They absolutely loved it. So, yeah, but I've been all over Europe. I have been to, I think, Guadalajara or, no, I've been to Tijuana.
Great.
Yeah, but I haven't been to Mexico City. And my girlfriend's like dying. She loves Frida Kahlo, so she wants to go down. I guess there's a museum, or her house is down there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Frida Kahlo, Rivera, and a ton of super contemporary, like within the past 5 years art.
Yeah, I'm kind of, obviously this COVID thing is a bummer. I just took my kids to Rome for the first time, in Venice and Florence last year. And then I wanted to take them to Paris this year at Thanksgiving, but that's not going to happen. So maybe next year. All right. So this last spot before we get on to advice, because I could talk to you all day. I still have a million questions, but I know you're sitting outside in the hot sun. The last spot is Langone. It's for a hospital, but I just loved, it's all about New York and all the different people in New York and the immigrants, and it's most half immigrants or something. There's a lot of stats in there, but I just love the spot. So do you want to say anything before, or do you want to talk about it after?
That's Anthony Hoffman, and he's an immigrant himself.
He is.
And he, yes, South African, and he loves New York and adores. Oh, there goes the mower. Adores the
The mower.
adores the diversity of New York in casting, and he's also a DP director. So his notes on the costume was like have a lot of pops of color so that we can see them moving through the landscape of multicolored New York.
Right. It's awesome. Here we go. It's called Langone, and Anne worked on this.
Did you know that over 800 languages are spoken here? Or that more than a third of the people who live here were born in another country? New York is the original melting pot. We don't care where you're from. If you're here, you're one of us. At NYU Langone, we're here to serve all of New York. That's why we're opening medical sites in all 5 boroughs. So now, you don't have to travel far to get great care. Because we think you've already come far enough.
Very cool. I am late coming back to the 2-shot of us because I'm always watching your spots, and I probably shouldn't be. But that's so cool. It's a really cool idea, and I had a conversation with some sports people about the NBA boycotts, and I love the idea of how New York, you could be from 100 different countries, but you're a New Yorker. And I love the idea of the sports team that no matter what race, color, religion you are, you're a Laker if you're on that team. And if you're a Celtic, you're on that team. And it doesn't matter that you're all part of a team. And that's the way I wish we would think about it in the United States and even the rest of the world. But it's a very cool idea that when you move to New York, you become a New Yorker.
Yeah, that's I think that's really what we set out to capture, and I'm actually really proud of that one. That might be my favorite, just because I think it really says so much about those people and the city in such a short time. And Anthony is an immigrant from South Africa to America, and so he's also experienced apartheid and for I think until he left maybe in the 90s or maybe even 2000. So he's super, for someone like him to then be able to sort of make this commercial and celebrate what you're saying, what makes New York great. It's the friendliest city in the world. As long as you love it and you're yourself and you're a New Yorker. It's sort of like come on board. Yeah, you don't have to live there for years, or you don't even have to live there for a day. If you love it and you want to stay, you're a New Yorker.
Yeah, I lived there for 7 years in the city and 5 years in the suburbs. I also lived in San Francisco and Boston. I went to school to Emerson College, but I do love the cities, man. I've been in the suburbs in Atlanta for 15 years. And I just moved to the city a year ago because my kids are about to go to college.
Right.
And man, I just love city life. It's just so many different kinds of people and cultures around every corner, and you're all intermingling, and there's energy. And we walk on this place called the Beltline, which is this long path through the city. There used to be railroad tracks, and there's people playing music, and there's people spray painting stuff, and there's art everywhere, and it's electric. It's a fun place to be. So, and this has been amazing. I'm not wrapping it up just this not yet, but I want to hear, and I know you were saying offline that maybe this would be hard to say, but what is your advice for young people who want to do what you want to do, or someone who wants to switch careers to be a stylist or an art director? I know it's tough in the industry right now.
Well, I think, I guess take this COVID time when most things are down to really research where you think you want to go. And then at the same time, once shooting starts again and it reopens, you should go where you want to. You should go in the department you want to go, whether it be commercials or TV or film. But at the same time, you should take anything that's coming at you, because they're really very similar, the same, until it sort of reaches a critical mass point, and then you have to decide. So take everything. The hard news with that is, I don't know anyone unless they're quite connected, or as in parents in the industry, or very close family friends who didn't have to work for free for, I think I worked for free for a year at least. Mm-hmm. And you're always gonna kind of work for free if you wanna do interesting work with people that you really click with, because everyone, even if they're doing sort of, a big commercial, they're also wanting to do their own work. Like Anthony Hoffman shoots his own stuff. He just loves shooting. So you're going to want to help out your friends and build that creative relationship throughout your career. So certainly at the beginning, don't turn your nose up at working for free. Of course, that means that either, one will have to come from privilege, or one will have to work another job and save up that money. But,
Right. And you're talking about like working on short films or spec spots or just anything you can get your hands on versus trying to be an intern or a PA at a big company like Warner Brothers.
All
of it. Yeah, you're talking about all of it. Okay.
About what you want to do.
Yeah.
If you love kind of Hollywood movies, and not, the sort of crust that's on Hollywood movies that like everyone loves.
Right.
But if you really love that kind of pirate ship thing, but in, the crew, but in a institution, that sort of more corporate feel, then go for Hollywood. If you, if you want to sort of move fast and, crazy like John Long, like James Long, then work for indies. They each come with their own thing.
Right.
Corporate, you've got, even when you're, an intern, the conditions are pretty great. Indie, you're there at 2 a.m. with like the last red vine in the Costco jar. But,
right.
but there's great things about both of them. And chances are anyone starting will most likely do indie to get experience. But I guess the other thing that I would say that I'd wish someone had told me was that, you can learn once you work on set, you pretty much have a pretty good overview in 6 months. So assess, because working on set is so fun, especially when you're young, and it can get addictive. So just assess every 6 months, assess where you want to go.
Right.
Because, set now, so maybe you want to go into the agency route. Agent, I've worked for free here, and I'm going to go work for free in the mailroom at a big agency or a management company.
Right.
And do like below the line crew, will work at that sort of management company. And if you like actors and directors, work at that one. But just assess every 6 months, because it's such a fast ride and it's so consuming and it's so fun that you will blink and, lot of years will have gone past, and so it's good to be ready to make your way.
Figure it out. Well, Anne, I'm exhausted. You have so much energy. You're a great guest. You're a great person to talk to. I love what you do. It's all beautiful, and the Campari thing is so fun. I can't believe you sat outside this whole time. I would totally melt outside in the sun.
I'm going to the now.
Do you have some Italian in you or something? Because you use your hands more than I do. You're just like kind of moving around, and you have all this energy.
I'm half Vietnamese.
Yeah. Okay.
That's Irish. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe. I'm Irish too, so maybe it's Irish. All right. Well, thank you so much for doing this. This has been great. I knew it would be. It was so much fun to talk to you, and I will be watching for more stuff from you in the future, and I wish you the best of luck, and it's been great.
You too so much, Sean. Such a pleasure. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, Anne. Have a great day.
Bye.
Bye.